Hey, everybody, we're just going to give folks just one more minute to come in. I'm still admitting some people from the waiting room, and then we'll get started.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay, I think we will get started. I don't see anybody else waiting. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us at 7 o'clock on a weekday night. We know that you are probably all exhausted from a long day. So we hope that the information that we have for you tonight energizes you a little bit, because we are really excited about it. My name is Lisa Hildebrand. I'm the executive director at Rhode Island Association for the Education of Young Children. And we are here tonight to talk about BrightStars. Before we start, I did want to mention that this is a session for family child care providers. We did host a session for centers and school age programs earlier this evening. So if you are a center-based provider and not a family child care provider, some of this information might not be relevant for you. But we did record the session for centers, and we will be posting that on our website, and we're going to send an email out about it later on this week. So feel free to stay, but some of the center-based information is probably a little bit more relevant for you. So before we actually dive into the information we have for you, I am going to turn it over to our friend Nicole Cello from DHS.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a quick minute at the beginning of this and thank each and every one of you for taking some time out of what I know is a super busy schedule to learn about the great things that this team at BrightStars is working on. Our team at the Office of Child Care is committed to making sure that each and every family child care comes out of the pandemic really feeling supported. And please know that we're working tirelessly on the back end to really help you in any way we can. I am personally very excited for BrightStars to share with you all of the great things that they've been working on. And I hope that if you haven't engaged with them in the past, that you really listen and you learn about all of the great things that they're doing and reconsider. As always, I'm here for any questions, comments, or concerns that you have. And I thank you once again for taking the time today. I'm going to pass it back over to our BrightStars friends.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. Before we jump into the information and I go through the agenda, I did want to just do a little bit of housekeeping for you. I mentioned at the start that this is a session for family child care providers. We will be recording this and posting it on our website, and we'll also share the slides on our website and email those links out to everybody. So if you need to jump off early, or if you have some questions and you want to go through some parts in a little more detail, you'll have access to that in the coming days. And also, we have quite a few of our BrightStar staff here with us today. And so if anybody has any questions, feel free to use the chat. I'm not going to really be able to see the chat very well, but I do have some staff who will be monitoring that and answering questions as they go. And also, we should have some time at the end of the session to do some questions and answers if you are interested in doing that. But we'll go through all of that towards the end and also tell you how to find or contact folks for more information. So tonight we are going to talk a little bit about RIAC and our mission and vision and why we do this work. Also go through a very brief summary of the history of BrightStars. Some of you have been with us since the very early stages of BrightStars, and some of you are new to either providing childcare or new to BrightStars. And so if that's the case, welcome, and we're glad to have you. And the history will just kind of set the stage for you. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the resources that and work that we did during COVID-19 to support our childcare providers across the state. A little about our BrightStars Advisory Committee. There's a newly revised structure to our advisory committee, and we'd love to engage with you and get more participation from family child care providers on that committee. We'll talk about Learners, which is our new professional development and coaching platform that we're very excited to officially unveil to family child care providers tonight, and then go through some of our data, their data, participation data, and some of our data of programs who are participating in Learners. So, like I mentioned, I'm Lisa Hildebrand. I'm the executive director at RIAC, and we are the state affiliate for NACCE. NACCE is the National Association for the Education of Young Children. It's a membership organization for the field. And NACCE is welcoming of all family child care providers, regardless of the setting or the ages that you serve or what your role is in childcare. We welcome everybody to participate as a member, and we are very much, as a nonprofit, we're very much focused on our mission and vision. And we are working tirelessly on advocacy efforts and professional development to advance a very diverse early childhood profession, and really to support everyone who cares for and educates and works on behalf of young children. And so that's why this work that we do with BrightStars is also very important to us and aligns very closely with our mission and vision. And this is a little bit about the work that we do. So we at RIAC partner very closely with the Departments of Human Services and our Department of Education on a number of different projects. So BrightStars is one of the largest, but we also work with them closely, specifically with DHS on the Teach Early Childhood program. So we support early childhood educators in working towards higher ed credentials. So things like a CDA, we support a pathway for an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. We have Teach Scholars at CCRI, at Rhode Island College, and at URI. And we also support the work that Rhode Island College is doing with their infant toddler bilingual cohort, the certificate that they have for infant and toddler educators. So in addition to that, under the Teach umbrella, we also have an infant and toddler, a center-based infant and toddler apprenticeship pilot. And we work with high schools in the area that have what's called a CTE, which is a career and technical education pathway. So we're trying to create additional pathways out of high school for individuals, for students who are interested in a career in early childhood. Under our BrightStars umbrella, we also manage Learners, which is what we're going to talk a little bit more about today in just a bit. And we work with the Department of Education to do the assessments for the RI pre-K program. So moving on, we're going to talk in much more detail about BrightStars, which is what you are here to learn about tonight. And to do that, I am going to pass the baton over to Sizer, who is one of our program assessment specialists, who is an individual who has been with us for many, many years. So I think a lot of you do know Sizer, and she's going to talk to you in a little more detail about BrightStars.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for being here tonight. As Lisa already mentioned, my name is Sizer Avila, and I'm a program assessment specialist for BrightStars. So about BrightStars. BrightStars is a quality rating and improvement system here in the state of Rhode Island. And there are three main elements to the work that BrightStars does. And the first one is assessment. Some of you may have seen program assessors in your programs doing ERS observations. For family child care providers, it's a figure 3. But besides assessment, we also work with programs to help them improve the quality. So improvement of quality is also an element of the BrightStars work. And communicating the level of quality that programs offer to families through research-based standards. So as you can see here, we are creating a sustainable infrastructure of diverse, high-quality early care, education, and school-age programs, and it's all based on research-based practices and best practices. A little bit of history about BrightStars. So in 2009, BrightStars rated its first program. And then moving on to 2013, participation became mandatory for all CCAP providers that accepted CCAP funding. In 2018, tier reimbursement went into effect for centers. And this is when tier reimbursement was tied to star level. And as we want you to know that we continuously work to advocate for higher reimbursement for programs and providers. In 2020, we all know what happened. As Lisa mentioned earlier, COVID-19 happened, and also the transition to the ERS, to the third version of the ERS. We were actually transitioning to the third version when COVID hit, so all of our work was paused for a little bit, or not necessarily paused, but it took a different shape, and we had to implement other things. Also, during 2020 and the pandemic, we worked even closer with DHS to work to secure funding to provide support for programs in other areas. And then learners happened in 2022. In 2022, we enrolled our first cohort for learners. Quality improvement practice, as I mentioned before, improvement of the quality is one of our main elements. And while assessment remains the cornerstone of the work that BrightStars does, we continuously work with DHS, as I mentioned earlier, to secure funding to provide more support to programs in terms of quality improvement. And we want you to know that we are very grateful for the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. And we value your commitment to quality. We are super excited every time a program comes into BrightStars, because that shows that you are committed to the work that you do, that you're interested in finding more information and improving the quality of the services that you offer to the children and the families in the state of Rhode Island. So we are very grateful for your programs, and we value the commitment that you have towards improvement of quality. And the support in place for providers. As I mentioned before, while many agencies probably closed during COVID-19, BrightStars remained open, and our work changed a little bit during that time. So we started working in different projects since we couldn't do observation or high stakes observations. One of the things that we worked on was essential worker emergency childcare registry. We worked in that project, all the BrightStars staff worked in that project, trying to connect essential workers to programs that would offer childcare so they could continue to go and carry on with the essential work that they do every day. Nurses, doctors, CNAs, all the workers that had to report on a day-to-day basis to their jobs. We worked very hard. We had a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails to connect parents with programs so their children could be in a safe environment and not home alone while they were going to work during the pandemic. We also worked with the Reopen application project, again, very close to DHS when family childcare providers and centers had to reopen their programs. We were receiving and reviewing the information that was being sent on, so they can go ahead and reopen the programs during that time. We did PPE distribution. So our staff also distributed masks, thermometers, and things that programs needed in order to secure PPE to safely open and provide services to families. During COVID-19, we also worked on the doing COVID-19 review visits. So all our staff would go into programs to make sure that programs were compliant with the COVID-19 emergency regulations. So although you don't recognize us because we were also wearing a mask and a face shield and a lot of other things to keep you safe, we were in your programs doing visits to make sure that every program was compliant with these regulations. We also work with the CHS COVID Impact Surveys from banking. We were calling programs, helping them fill out the surveys online, providing support if they had any questions about the surveys. We were there to answer those questions. Our navigator specialists, they also worked during the list COVID relief application support. They were also taking phone calls, providing support to programs to fill out the application for relief that list was provided. COVID test delivery, that's still going on. We are working, we pick up COVID deliveries and we bring them to your program. So I'm not sure if any of you have taken advantage of this, but if not, and you are in need of tests for your program, so you can provide them to families and children, make sure if anybody tests positive or if they need to test at home, we can provide those services to you. You can reach out to us or reach out to your navigator. At least they will provide the information at the end on one of the chats, and we can home deliver those tests for you. And learners, as I mentioned earlier, 2022, our first cohort began. So learners pilot program for centers and family childcare providers. We have already done a couple of observations in family childcare providers for learners, and you will learn a lot more tonight about this program once the time comes for those slides. And this is the current BrightStars certification data. As you can see, we have 320 programs rated at 1 star, 226 programs rated at 2 stars. You can see the percentages on the last column. 59 programs, 3 stars, and 4-star programs. We have 88 programs at the moment, and 34 5-star programs. And now I am going to hand it over to Lisa so she can give you a little bit of information about the BrightStars Advisory Committee.
Okay, back to me. So BrightStars has always had a governance structure similar, where we have some of the folks that make the decisions based at the state, and then we encourage engagement from our stakeholders, from our childcare providers and the advocates in the field and the partners in the work that are working on quality improvement and supporting programs. And so we kind of re-envisioned the way that the structure will work moving forward. And in over the last couple of years, we've done quite a bit of work on what the structure of the advisory committee, what their responsibility is, and how to actually have some of our stakeholders make some suggested changes. So the goals of the BrightStars Advisory Committee are really twofold. The first is to reintroduce that governance framework so that we have a process of soliciting proposals from the field or from advocates or even from BrightStars staff to strengthen our framework and make it more dynamic for our child care providers. And then secondary is to really maintain that strong, effective evidence or research-based framework to continue to measure quality in programs. So BrightStars works with a very mixed delivery of the early childhood education system. So we're working with centers, we're working with school age programs, we're working with our family child care providers, and we work with the public schools who offer child care as an option within a district. And so really looking at all of the child in classroom and program level outcomes to continue to grow the strength of the whole of the entire system. So here's the makeup. So right now what we are doing is working with a BrightStars steering committee that has membership made up of representation from the governor's office, from DHS, from RI, the Department of Education, and from RIAC. So we are kind of the entity that manages the process. And then the advisory committee is where our community-based stakeholders have the opportunity to learn more about the work that we're doing, but also provide input and suggested changes. And so we have, like I said, we have members from the advocacy community. We have members from some of the quality initiatives. We have a very large number of childcare providers from different kinds of programs of family childcare providers, Head Start, the Head Start world, the public schools, and anybody who is caring for and educating children. And then we're very lucky to also have a great program services officer in Sarah Nardolillo, who wasn't able to be with us here tonight, who kind of helps us guide the whole process. So the advisory committee meets quarterly, and the BrightStars steering committee meets on an as-needed basis as information and data and suggestions come out of the advisory committee. So we're looking at metrics of success. We are really trying to make some decisions and track data based on these different outcomes. So program growth, improvement within the quality rating and improvement system. So increases in a star level, and not just the percentage of programs at the highest levels of quality, but watching programs as they move through the QRIS. As a program goes from a 1-star to a 2-star, that is a metric of success, both in your program and within the work that we are doing. We're also tracking the number of children who are the most vulnerable. So our children who are in CCAP and our children who are in the Head Start programs that are enrolled in the levels of quality programs. Increased participation. So, we've said from the very beginning that just participating in BrightStars is a measure of quality, is an indication that you are interested in working towards even just very small modifications to your program to help improve the environment for the children and their families. And then we're looking at both classroom and program level outcomes related to the ERS. So for a family child care provider, that is related to the family child care environment rating scale, which we also call FICRS. So we'll talk about that in just a sec. And we just wanted to let you all know that in addition to engaging on the advisory committee, maybe that's not the place that you feel like you could put any time into. We also have this process where we developed a proposal that we have listed on our website that allows providers, or like I said, anybody, to make a suggested change to the framework. So perhaps there is an actual standard, or maybe even it's just a policy or a procedure that we follow at BrightStars that you think could be handled in a different way, or you think that there would be a very positive impact to childcare providers based on a change. You can submit that proposal to us. I definitely encourage you to take a look at that proposal form. We want it to be tied to research. We don't want it to always be like, I don't like this. It is more, what's best practice? What is a new initiative in the field that impacts BrightStars, and maybe we can make some changes. So we've had a number of proposals already come forward. The BrightStars Advisory Committee is meeting again at the end of this month with some more proposals, and we just think it's a very interactive, engaging way to work closely with our childcare partners, or the provider partners, in the work that we do. So this is like a really long-winded way to follow the steps to how we do that. So the first one is to submit the proposal, and then the proposal is reviewed by both DHS and BrightStar staff, just to kind of make sure that it is congruent or aligned with the work that we want to do and those metrics, those outcomes that we're looking for. Once the proposals are moved forward, they go to the advisory committee, and the advisory committee is presented the proposals and presented some data and presented research, and they vote on it. So that's step 4. And if a proposal is approved by the advisory committee, then it goes to step 5, which is a review by the steering committee. So that's a review by individuals who are kind of managing the larger state system, just to make sure that it's aligned with all of the work that is happening in the state, and not just super focused on one piece of it. And then if the proposal is approved, it's implemented by BrightStars and we let you know. We try and communicate as often and as easily as we can in multiple ways so that you get the information that we think is really important for you to know. So often we create flyers and we use social media and we send postcards and we send emails and trying to get the information out as much as we can. And we also work with our partners who we know that you might have a different kind of relationship with. So this is the process of the advisory committee. So far it seems to be working really well, but certainly if anybody has any ideas about this too, we are open to suggestions. And now that takes us to moving into this new frame of support and coaching that we are very excited to be able to unveil to our family childcare providers across the state. We have a really small kind of initial pilot, but tonight is the time when we're really kind of opening it up and talking to you all about this, what we're calling learners. And I'm going to pass the baton now to Hannah, who is going to go through some details about what learners is.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah DeConti. I'm the manager of quality improvement here at BrightStars. Thank you for taking the time out of your night to meet with us and hear about the things that we're doing over here to support the work that you're doing in your homes with the youngest of our learners and children coming out of a pandemic. So we really, really appreciate all the work that you've done to continue to care for the children in Rhode Island. So I'd love to talk to you guys about learners. So Learners is a coaching framework created by the Brana Group, which is a company that develops software based on the ERS tools. So the ITERs, the ECHRs, the SAKERs, relevant to you guys is the FICRs, the Family Child Care Environment Rating Scale. So you'll notice that in the ERS, the ERS is capitalized, which stands for the Environment Rating Scale. So we use that here to observe within early childhood programs, family childcare homes, and we provide assessments on your quality. So Learners at BrightStars is a model that acts in a few different ways. The main goal is to educate and support providers while they work in their homes, in their centers, in their programs with the children that you care for each day. So through online modules, providers will create goals based on items and indicators of quality in the environment rating scale, which would be the FICRs for you guys. You receive coaching from our staff of navigators to plan your coursework. You create goals that you want to implement within your homes with the children, how to get them to function, how to make them happen, and reflect on your progress through that. So each slide going forward, we'll talk a little bit about each of those. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll have an answer for you guys. So Learners is for programs that want to increase their score, but maybe don't understand the ERS or know what it's looking for. When we switch to the 3 version, the typical procedure changed a little bit. So it's a great introductory into what that means for you and what an observation would look like. It's for programs that need supplementary programs to support their quality improvement goals. So once we do an assessment, we provide materials and items for your children that you need. We go to Lakeshore and we purchase a lot of materials for you guys. A welcome basket with enrollment materials is around $200 of materials. You get a midpoint assessment and that's another $200. So you're getting constantly materials to support your goals that you're creating in the module and working with your navigator on. It's for programs that need help to align their ideas to the ERS and how to make them work within your program, and programs that want to make positive changes without, bending over backwards to try to make them happen each and every day within your program.
Oops, sorry. Okay.
So how does it work? So Learners is a online module. It's a website that you log on to on your computer. It starts, every item has a module. So there's a blocks module, there's an art module, there's a staff interaction with books module, just connected to the Vickers tool, the 3rd edition. So once you get your pre-assessment, we'll see your scores, we'll see where you should start your coursework, what materials you could use to support your children and the program that you're running. And in those modules, you create goals, you have a journal that you can print out, you can chat in between with your navigator and workshop your goal to make it more tangible, and then implement them within your program. So through these modules, they're really interactive. They're a lot of fun. They have music and pictures you can drag, you can categorize things. So it's not just a webinar that you'll watch and maybe forget about in a week. It's really interactive and exciting to participate within. There are questions for you to reflect on, and those get saved into your journal. So you can go back in and change your goals, connect with your navigator through the chat function, and navigators will support you. They will go out to your program, they'll chat, they'll give you a phone call, they'll meet you on Zoom, maybe you make a goal about room arrangement, and the navigator will come to your program and tell you what they think, or maybe we can try this here. How is this working for you? So really, it's really collaborative, supporting you in the great work that you're doing. So why should you participate? Some great coaching from your navigator. You'll create a really close relationship with them. They'll learn about you and your values and what you want your program to reflect, and that will link to the ERS, and the coaching will reflect that in your quality improvement goals. The professional development is approved by the Center for Early Learning Professionals. Participants will be compensated for your time, and the materials that we purchase from Lakeshore will be given to you for free. So how does it work? So participants who apply to Learners, enrollment happens on a rolling basis. So if you're interested in applying, you'll submit an application to your navigator. It will get processed through our program assistant. The program is either 6 months to a year of coaching. Also, constant interactions through the modules based on your pre-assessment and your midpoint assessment, and you'll be able to connect with other providers through the peer learning session, which happens once a month. So you'll be able to connect with other providers within the state who are working on the same things. So in terms of reimbursement, each participant that is enrolled in Learners, we pay out $150 a month, which works out to $10 a month at $15 an hour. So those 10 hours, 8 of them are already what you're doing each day, working in your program, working with the children. There's 1 additional hour to go through the module and create a goal. And then there's another hour of a peer learning session, which usually happens on a Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. over Zoom. And this is where I'm going to hand it off to Erin. She's one of our BrightStars Learners Navigators, who you guys may get the pleasure of working with, and she'll tell you more about the ERS observations.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin, and I have the great privilege of being one of the navigators that works with programs and participants and the assessment team. So in the past, without Learners, there tends to be there was this divide of they're coming in to observe or assess my program. What are they looking for? Are they looking to catch me doing something, great or wrong? Are they here to fix something that I'm doing? Now we have Learners, and we start with this pre-assessment, which doesn't impact negatively your star rating or your overall rating and star score. We are getting information from your strengths in your program and identifying areas that Learners could be helpful. So there might be some aspect of the ERS that is new to you and new to your program, and you think, I didn't even realize that was something they were looking for, that I'm doing incredibly well, or, oh, I wasn't aware that I was supposed to be doing this other thing and I want to learn more about it. So the pre-assessment not only tells us what we can support you with through your time in Learners, but it helps us identify if you're if you need any additional materials, that's where we put together that welcome basket with materials that you could have in your program to benefit your students. Halfway through, if you're doing a full year of learners, this happens around the 6-month mark. That's for us to check in. Have we been providing the support that you need? Are there things that we could do better? Is there information that you need that we may have missed so that we can keep growing and changing our approach to make sure that it fits what you're looking for in your program? So at the end of your time in learners, you'll have a post assessment that will show us all the hard work that you've been doing in your time with learners. We want to see and recognize these improvements, these many changes that you've made that have now led to improvement over the course of your time in learners. And it's an amazing way for us to work together with assessment, have you feel more comfortable with us being there doing observations, because we're just there to see what support you need. How can we help you learn more about the environment rating scale and the Fickers? I am most proud of the benefit that our coaching offers. So Hannah was saying coaching, and she mentioned we can do this through a phone call. We can do this in an in-person visit. You can email us, reach out. We can go out and visit you. And there are some major benefits to why we're there. So with the pandemic shifting and changing, there has been a lot of changing guidance around, can I introduce soft goods? Can I make materials shared among my students? And that changes sometimes more often than not. So with us being frequent partners with you, we can help you understand that information and how it is changing and impacts your program. We can make recommendations and suggestions. You can ask us about materials and spending. If you have a budget or a grant and you want to purchase additional materials, or you want to make a wish list for us to use the learners funding to help get you the materials you need, we can work together with you. And you tell us, I learned about this in the module and I realized that I could add more science exploration materials. I could use some math comparing and counting materials. You tell us what you would like to see in your program, and we'll help you to find it, find a resource, make a resource, and purchase it if needed. The providers and participants that we have had in learners so far have a wide range of talents, backgrounds, cultures, experiences, individual creative expressions of what makes their program special and why they do the work that they do. So I've been honored, and our team has really felt this privilege of seeing what makes our providers so special. And we've been able to help them identify ways they can use their strengths and use their talents to really enrich the environment in their program. We also have the opportunity to coach you by modeling and supporting you in your space. You show us how the space functions. You say to us, this, I usually have this over here, but I find maybe it would be better over here. Or I thought this was the best location for this, but this group of students, they're maybe feeling a little more, they could use a little more space for blocks, or I want to add this area because they're really into, whatever they're into at the time. And we can help you based on what you show us in your program by giving you some advice and guidance on how that impacts the overall environment. And my favorite part of coaching, we have heard from providers and participants that they are building their confidence. They are feeling more confident when someone is there to observe and work with them on an observation, because they know what we're there to see. They're proud of their progress and their improvements, and they know that we're there to see it. So it's not that someone's coming in to criticize, and much more about, I know that they're here to support me and help me get what I need for my students. Who is eligible? So we are working with programs that meet all DHS CCLU regulations. programs that are rated 2 and 3 stars in BrightStars, programs that are rated at a 1 star that are ready to commit to an increase of at least 3 stars. You don't need to feel the pressure of a big jump. We want to work with you to make these little mini manageable improvements based on what works best for you and your program. We're here to support you and learners. And we know that small progress and small improvements really have a big impact on the service you provide. So we also are open to 4 and 5 star programs who may be demonstrating an inability to maintain that rating. So maybe you have a new staff member. Maybe there have been so many changes over the past few years that you feel like a refresher would be helpful when it comes to the environment rating scale and the FICRs. So we would love to talk to you. If you're interested, we're always enrolling, as Hannah mentioned. So we would love to talk to you if you're interested in learners. To apply, you can reach out to your BrightStars navigator. They may have already reached out to you. You can also email us at learners@ryac.org, or just call us at BrightStars, call us at RYAC and ask who your navigator is, or say, I heard about learners and I'm interested, and we'll connect you with the person that will help you apply and get going. Currently, we have 7 family child care providers enrolled in this first October starting cohort of the FCC providers. We overall across learners have 42 lead teachers and 4 teachers assistants so far since we started in March of 2022. And we could not be happier that next month we are kicking off the family child care provider learners cohort. We want to prioritize the enrollment of CCAP providers, and we do that because we know that these students need our support the most. We currently have 335 CCAP children who are enrolled in attending learners involved programs. And learners, I noticed the comment in the chat was the time commitment. So right now we're looking at 6 months to a year of the commitment for learners. And that's based on what our programs need and what the cohort, the makeup of the involved participants look like in the cohort. Thanks.
Okay, so we are, wow, it's only 7:44. I'm going to stop sharing and just remind you of a couple of things. We are recording, so we will be able to share this recording with you later, and we'll also post the slides. You want to go back and take a look. And also I haven't been able to watch the chat, but I know that there were some questions in the chat, and actually I can probably take a look at it now. I think we may have covered most of the questions maybe that Dulari had, but feel free to unmute yourself, anybody, or post some more questions in the chat if you have them. We'd love to, give you the opportunity to ask questions or even comments and have a conversation if you want to. That we have kind of a small group, so we can do that. Looks like it's like Dulari has all the questions tonight, but that's totally fine. And we're also happy to have some one-on-one conversations with anybody. So, if you're trying to figure out if this is something you're interested in, or if you are not currently participating in BrightStars and you want to know a little more about what the commitment to BrightStars is and what does it necessarily mean to you, we're happy to come out to your home and sit down and talk, or talk on Zoom if that's easier for you. We're really open to anything, so whatever works and whatever is the most convenient for any of you, we are happy to do that. Does anybody have any questions? I did want to point out at least one more thing, and I might think of something else while I'm talking, but one of the biggest benefits of learners that we didn't put on the slide, especially for those of you who are either new to BrightStars or are at a 1 or a 2-star and haven't had a Vickers observation yet, when you participate in learners and we do that, what we're calling a pre-assessment that Erin mentioned, if you do well on that pre-assessment, so say perhaps you are a 2-star program right now, and you are eligible in everything at all the other standards to go higher, you just have never had a Vickers. If we come out and do that pre-assessment and you score over a 3, you can actually use that assessment then to increase your rating immediately. We'll help you with all the paperwork to do the increase in the rating. So that is like one of those side benefits that we don't necessarily always talk about, but it is a huge benefit for those who are new to the tool or new to even just being observed. And we can do that for you. So we would love to be able to do that. And we would love to be able to increase ratings for family child care providers across the board. We know a lot of you have now earned your CDAs. We know a lot of you are working towards or in the 12 credit pathway or in the infant toddler credential at Rhode Island College. If you have one college class or a CDA under your belt and you get a great score on your Vickers, you can increase your rating. It looks like Dulari is chatting a little bit more with folks in the chat, but making sure that we have all the questions. Yeah, that looks like. Okay. Anything else that anybody has for us? Like everybody mentioned, feel free to reach out to your navigator. Feel free to email that info line, or like Erin said, pick up the phone and just give us a call. We'll point you in the right direction. We're happy to support anybody and answer any questions that anyone has afterwards. And if there's nothing else, Erin, do you have a question?
Lisa, I just wanted to, based on the comment from Vivian's response to Dulari about the time commitment. Thank you so much, Vivian, for expanding on that. Hannah did mention that the time commitment is a 1 hour, that online session. So you're watching videos, you're responding to little games in the module, and that takes about an hour. And then another hour is the peer learning session. So you're with other providers in your cohort asking questions. You know, this is what the space looks like in my home. What does the space look like for you? Or I have this thing that I bought. Do you think this would be great for my students? You know, these are the books I have. Is there anything that your students like, you know, that's not one of these books? It's a great back and forth where you can talk to other providers in a safe space to get some new ideas. And then the other 8 hours that Hannah mentioned that you're getting paid, reimbursed for and compensated for is you're in your home. So say, for example, you look at the books you have and you think, oh, you know, I'd love to add some more books about science, or I have a lot of books and we do a lot of singing and movement, but I wonder if I added some books that focused on numbers and math. You might make a goal about that and say, okay, this month I'm going to try to go to the library and get some books that are, you know, 5 Little Monkeys or something involving numbers. And then that's what the 8 hours is compensating for, is reimbursing for. Going to the library or looking through the items and the materials in your program and saying, I have enough of this, I have too much of this. And then thinking about, okay, did this work? Did this not work? I tried this, you know, it didn't go the way I planned. Maybe I'll move this shelf back this way. That's what the time is for. So instead of going somewhere and being there for 10 hours, that's great professional development too. But these 8 hours that's special about learners, that you're already there, you're already working with your students, and you deserve to be reimbursed for that time, thinking about quality improvement, making changes, trying it, taking a before and after picture. All of that is involved in you making a goal and making changes that work for you and your program. I would just thanks for the question, Dulari, because it does look like one big chunk of time, but that level of detail is really important. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I think that was great, Erin. There's another question too. The peer learning sessions, are they always on Tuesday evenings? I think are we flexible? No? Okay. So they will change depending on what cohort and what everybody agrees to, I think, for family childcare. Okay. I
Yes,
don't know that that helps you, Laurie, because it could be at any time, but
we would never want someone to not participate because
Yeah.
that evening doesn't work for them. We have a participant in Learners right now whose cohort happened to be, I think, Tuesday nights at 6, and she began taking her CDA classes at the exact same time. We can work with her, independently. We can work with you on your own or to figure out within the group what's a better day and time to meet. That shouldn't be a barrier to participating in Learners. Does that sound right, Lisa?
yeah. I
Okay.
think the other thing to mention too is that we are intentionally keeping the cohort small for family child care providers. We don't have like an unlimited capacity. We don't have unlimited staff to do the peer learning sessions and to, kind of manage the work, but we really do want them to be intimate cohorts. So a small number of family child care providers, and it may, I don't want to say an exact number because it may change as we go on. But we are also working with the state on additional funding to support even more family child care providers. So the DHS and the governor's office are very invested in this platform. And we want to encourage as many people who want to participate as can, and we'll figure out a way to accommodate them. Dilcia, do you have a question?
Actually, going back to the peer learning sessions, we are working right now with the providers that we have in Learners to be able to find out what will be the best time and the best day for them to have the peer learning sessions. Because we know they have all the PD they usually do during the nights.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're going to say goodbye then. We're going to make sure that this gets shared out. And like I said, let us know if you guys have any questions, and those of you who are out there watching this afterwards, if you have any questions, we are happy to work with you. But thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. And now you have a little bit of time left in your night. All right. Bye-bye.